I'm Peggy Peck, MedPage Today. It's been a year since we started following Ed Sussman and his clinical trial of an investigational weight loss drug. Before we check in with Ed for a final report, let's first refresh our memories. Here is Ed in January 2008.
I know I should be losing weight. I know I should be exercising, but I don't.
You look a whole lot different than you did a year ago when we started this great adventure. So tell us, what are your latest numbers?
Well, I basically have reached a plateau, it appears. My weight is now about 233, 34 pounds. It's been like that probably for the last 3 months, which is less than the goal of 220, but I feel very comfortable at this weight. No one seems very upset that I haven't gotten much lower than 230. It does represent a 50-pound loss. That's 50-pound loss.
A year ago, you were taking how many medicines and how many are you taking today?
I was taking 4 diabetes medicines, 1 blood pressure medicine. Actually, it was a combination of 2 blood pressure medicines. So it was valsartan and a diuretic, and I was taking a drug for cholesterol, Vytorin. I'm still on Vytorin. I'm now just on Diavan alone. We've eliminated the diuretic, and I'm on 1 diabetes medicine.
So we've been following Ed for a year, and I've been asking about what it's been like to be in a clinical trial, what the difference in his numbers are, how he feels about the trial himself. And now for this session, we have a number of other reporters that have been following the story for a year, and we're going to let them ask some questions about what they would like to know about Ed and his clinical trial experience.
So Ed, has being in this clinical trial affected your perspective on covering clinical trials as a journalist?
To answer your question directly, I now look very closely at the placebo response in chronic disease state clinical trials. And if I don't see a very strong placebo effect, I would be somewhat more skeptical of the results of those trials, because there should be a major placebo impact if the trial is done with an outlook to improving the overall health of the person.
Ed, I've seen you at a lot of meetings that we've covered together, and one thing that I noticed in several cases is that you frequently seemed not to have gotten enough sleep the night before. How has your experience with this weight loss trial affected your sleep?
What you noticed was in previous years was in fact a problem with basically out of control diabetes or under control diabetes, and you get sleepy after lunch. Of course, I get sleepy after lunch after having a big meal anyway, but since probably 3 months into this trial, I felt a lot better all day long.
Was exercise part of this intervention, and how difficult was it for you to know how many calories you're consuming at a meal? I mean, if the nutrition information isn't always available, were you just constantly asking them at every restaurant? You know,
let me do the nutrition one first, because I don't like to answer the first one. No, one of the things the nutritional counseling did was to show you what a portion of a meal looked like. So if it was this big, you knew that was about a cup. So you could figure, okay, it's a cup of whatever, and I can figure out how much that refers to on the chart. I have you can go to various websites. I also have several books that paperback books that I can flip through to find out what the calorie level was. Also, I became very much more conscious of looking at the backs of cereal boxes and things like that and seeing what the calorie count is, really looking at labels quite a bit. As far as exercise is concerned, exercise is in fact part of the program that I was on. It was part of the program that I'm still trying to incorporate into my daily life. I have not exercised the way they want me to in the trial, which was 3 times a day doing some physical exercise. What I have done, however, is increased my walking. I wear a pedometer all the time, And when I first started this trial, and occasionally when I'm working at my desk almost exclusively for a day, I would average about 1,200 steps a day. That was where we were when we started. Now I average well over 3,000 steps a day. So I've added about a mile more a day in walking. Certainly when I'm at meetings, like the major medical meetings, my steps can approach and exceed 10,000 steps a day.
Ed, you and I go back a long way. We've been at covering medical meetings together now for almost 20 years, I think. And one of the things that I notice at meetings, and perhaps you can comment on this, is that it's very, very difficult to eat on a regular basis and to eat healthy foods. You're eating in restaurants, you're grabbing a sandwich, a little dish of French fries, a bag of chips. How difficult was it for you in the course of the clinical trial to overcome those kinds of obstacles?
In February of this year, I was asked to cover a meeting in Tampa. And it was at a hotel that the only restaurant that was really available was a buffet-style restaurant. And I was very, very nervous about going into a buffet-style restaurant because, as I've often said, I have a seafood diet. I see food and I eat it. And so I went into this restaurant anyway because you've got to eat. And I filled my plate up with what I thought was healthier foods: fish, salad, vegetables, and maybe some broiled meats. And I went to my table and I ate all that, and then I got up. And usually at these buffets, I would get up and go back and fill my plate up again and again and again. And I got up from my table and paid the bill and left the restaurant. And on my way out, I was thinking, how did I do that? How was I able to do that? That was the first time when I thought I might be on the active medication, because I've never been able to do that before.
Was it worth it? How do you feel? What changed the most for you?
I've really enjoyed being a guinea pig for this trial. As far as physically and otherwise, I have not felt this as well as I felt in the last 2 or 3 months. And I have to go back 15 years before I was this active, this able to get around, undaunted by tasks like walking up and down stairs or walking the length of the New Orleans Convention Center. Those things, don't bother me anymore. And one of the really strange things that happened, you don't realize some of these things are weight related. At least I didn't. When I started this trial, I had chronic plantar fasciitis, which makes it very difficult to walk, especially in the morning. It's like, it's very difficult, very painful, and a struggle to get out of bed and actually put weight on your feet. And I don't know when it happened, but somewhere in the middle of this program, I have no longer had plantar fasciitis. And I was at the Radiological Society of North America meeting in December. And one of the presenters there was talking about a new treatment for plantar fasciitis in case conservative methods fail. One of the conservative methods was weight loss.
So here we are, a year later, final unveiling, big surprise to us. Tell us what happened.
Well, we went to the end of the trial and I said, well, so what drug am I on? And they said, we don't know and we can't tell you. They aren't going to unveil the results for this for some time. So I'm just sort of set in limbo. I'm waiting to see if they will continue to ask me to come in to monitor my weight loss and how I maintain it when I'm not on either the drug or the placebo.
A year later, and as we've heard, a healthier, a fitter, and I guess we could say a happier Ed Sussman with a positive result from a clinical weight loss trial. I'm Peggy Peck, MedPage Today.